It's really powerful to think that you can achieve your goals. You can dream up anything you want, and you can achieve it if you're willing to sacrifice pieces of yourself in order to make it happen. Welcome back to the Dangerous Women podcast. I'm your host, Colleen Conlon, and today I want to share a lyric with you. I am the martyr and I am the muse. So when I say that lyric, I want you to notice what initially comes to mind. I remember the first time I heard that lyric and I thought to myself, oh, I have so much more power than I realize. And I want to bring that back to the whole idea around find your fierce. And if you have been listening to the Dangerous Women podcast, I know there's a good chance that you have listened to the masterclass that I do on the concept of find your fierce. So if you haven't already listened to that, I would highly encourage you pause this podcast episode and go listen to that one first. But for anybody who is just wondering or needs a refresher on what find your fierce is, it's a concept. It's a concept that when we are able to connect with our most authentic, confident, fantastical selves, we truly feel confident and we feel limitless and unstoppable to achieve anything that we want, even if it means breaking societal norms. And the masterclass that I do on the concept of find your fierce is to help you to connect with that piece of yourself. Because honestly, I believe all of us have fierceness inside of us, but we do not all know how to bring that part of ourselves out. And I remember the first time I thought to myself, I want to feel fierce. It was back in 2019, and at the time I was a part of a big box gym company in New York City, and we were coming out with a fitness app. And I remember one day all of the instructors who were picked for the app, we had to go around the room and talk about the type of instructor we wanted to be known for. Not necessarily stereotyping everybody, but making sure, everybody's kind of playing a bit of a role. And when it was my turn, I remember thinking, I don't really know what I want to be, but I want people to see me as fierce. And at the time, I didn't fully know what that was, but for some reason, the word fierce has stuck with me since 2019. And find your fierce is something that I love to share with other people because I think it's important to realize that there's so much power within us when we understand how to tap into it. You really are a superhero, a god, a goddess, however you want to depict it. You are powerful. You just need to figure out how to find that part of yourself and unleash it. And, fierce has really followed me, and I haven't always known where we're going with it next. But something that I find to be extremely fierce about myself is the fact that anytime I think about doing something big, I think about doing it for the future me and not letting my past self or even my present self make me feel like I'm stuck, I'm not capable, I don't have the potential to be whatever it is I'm dreaming of being. And I remember that was something really big that came up for me back in 2020, 2021 when I was doing the stuff for the Guinness Book of World Records. And I remember just thinking to myself, why can't this be me? Why can't this be me? If I'm willing to work my butt off and do this, why can't I be a Guinness World Record holder? And it was so cool because all I had to do was say goodbye to a version of myself in order to bring in what it was I wanted to create. And I wanted to create being a fucking Guinness World Record holder. And another time it came up for me again, I remember this was really big. I remember 2023 was a really tough year for me emotionally. I had a lot of personal stuff going on. And I remember getting to this point And I believe I've shared this in season 1 of the podcast, where I didn't know if I wanted to stay. I remember being on the suicide hotline, talking to an operator, and just thinking, I don't know that I want to do this anymore. And I remember spending a lot of time in therapy, and in therapy coming to the conclusion that I don't want to stay as I am. I need to create a new version of myself, because this just isn't working for me anymore. I have to be willing to die in order to bring in this new version of myself. And that was really fucking hard. And I'm so glad I did it. And then when we look at it again, like fitness lens, this past year, 2024, I went into my first ever bulking phase. And I put on about 30 pounds. And it has been the time that I put on about 30 pounds. And it was one of the greatest experiences, because I was able to heal so much more with food that I didn't even realize was an issue anymore. And it allowed me to really feel how possible it is to love yourself at different sizes. And the fact that the size that you are does not dictate the love that you have for yourself. It really does come down to how your emotional health is, above and beyond what size your jeans are. But that's a conversation for another day. In all of these moments, I had to get real with myself and ask, in order to bring in this newness, are you willing to let go of this other part of yourself? Let go, die, kill. I don't know, maybe some of that feels like a little extreme, but I think in certain circumstances, it is kind of extreme. Letting a part of you go in order to bring in something that can't be here if you continue this way. Like a part of me that has died is the all or nothing mindset. Like I was so gung-ho, everything has to be all or nothing, black and white. And it got me to the point where it was like, we can't do this anymore. And I don't think it's possible to be somebody who truly believes in absolutes all of the time and is still able to be extremely flexible. I think there's, a period of time where you might go from the one to the other like I have, but I don't think there's a tremendous amount of ability to have both of those things for all of the different events that come up in life, and it feels good. Once you get to that point where it's like, I can be flexible with this, I can be mature about this, like it's very gray, it's not all black and white, like you can't go back, because it's almost like being in the Matrix and you take the pill and you chose to wake up. You're awake. You can't go back to sleep. And that's tough. I think that's really tough when you get to a point where it's like, so many people are asleep, but I chose to wake up. And I'm not saying that about, everything necessarily, but there's certain things where once you see what you have to do, it's really hard to go back.
Are you ready to start building strength, but feel overwhelmed by complicated workouts and influencers on social media? Foundations is your answer. If you're new to strength training and want a simple, effective way to get stronger, build muscle, and drop body fat, Foundations was designed just for you. What you'll need to get started are just 3 kettlebells. That's it. These 3 kettlebells are all you need to unlock your strength, start building muscle, and start seeing real results. There's no fancy moves, no complicated routines, just the basics that will help you to progress safely and confidently. What you'll get when you join: simple, proven exercises where you will master foundational movements like squats, deadlifts, and presses that will give you strength and confidence. A progressive training program, step-by-step video and written guidance to help you improve no matter where you are starting from. A safe, effective training routine. You'll get to focus on form and build a body that's strong from the inside out. And the best part, it's DIY. You can start right away, no waiting around. You just buy the program today and you get to start building strength from the comfort of your home. You don't need to be fancy to get strong. You just need a solid foundation and the right approach. Foundations is perfect for the woman who is new to strength training and wants to take it at her own pace. She wants to feel empowered, she wants to feel strong, and she wants to feel more confident in her body. If you're ready to begin, visit www.colleenconlon.com for more details and grab your foundations program today. Again, all you need are 3 kettlebells. I'll take care of the rest.
But this idea of dying in order to bring something new in is something that I really love. And I think about it every day. You know, who do I want to be? What kind of woman do I want to be? What kind of coach do I want to be? What kind of wife do I want to be? What kind of daughter do I want to be? How do I want people to see me? But most importantly, how do I want to see myself? And you know, I'm 32. I still have so much to learn. And I understand that things are going to continue to change and evolve. And I embrace that wholeheartedly. You know, change is the only thing that is actually constant in life. So why fight it? You just got to flow with it. And what's really cool is we have a lot of choice. We do. And when I heard that lyric that I shared with you in the beginning, I heard it at a time that made this whole idea of death and rebirth feel so much better. I am the martyr and I am the muse. The song is called Martyr by Ronette and Saint Mesa, if anybody is interested in finding this. And I remember I was going through the Find Your Fierce masterclass. One of my clients at the time had asked, "Oh, so what's your fierce?" And I said to her, you know, I haven't done this exercise in a while. I don't know if I would actually see the same fierce essence, because at one point in time I saw like this like warrior, very much like a gladiator kind of warrior, and there was a dragon, and I ended up doing the visualization from the Find Your Fierce masterclass again, back in end of August, beginning of September. And I had a very different experience. And I saw this woman, and man, she felt very much like a priestess. I saw her in the pyramids. She was dancing. She was levitating. She had this calm, feminine energy where it didn't matter who was looking at her. Everybody just went silent, waiting to hear, what does she have to say next? And then in another visual of her, I saw her just like walking into the desert with this panther by her side and these 2 swords. And I remember just thinking like, whoa, she's so different. She's evolving. I don't know if I fully feel like I'm her yet, but I want to get there. I want to be the martyr and I want to be the muse. And, you know, that was all happening right around the time I had ended my bulk in 2024 and I was getting ready to go into maintenance and then my cut. And I listened to that song every single day. And I did that as the reminder that there's something that you want. There's a way you want to feel and look and present an experience that you want to go through. In order to achieve that thought, that piece of art in my head, that muse, you're going to have to die a little bit. And that's okay. And the death was just, you know, dying from everything that got me to that point, getting ready to go into the next. And I wouldn't say there was anything necessarily unhealthy about dying from, you know, being in a surplus mode into maintenance, into a cut. You know, what's dying is the amount of calories I get to eat each day. But I think it's really powerful to think that you can achieve your goals. You can dream up anything you want, and you can achieve it if you're willing to sacrifice pieces of yourself in order to make it happen. And I was talking about it with a client today. I shared the line with her, I am the martyr, I am the muse. And I said something to her along the lines of, would you be willing to kill a version of yourself in order to become exactly who you want to be? And she said something along the lines of, is it, a bad thing to want to, feel like you're dying in order to become something else? And I think potentially, yeah, it's worth it. And yeah, it can be a good thing. Could it be a negative thing? What do you think? Maybe. I think so much of this has to do with your perspective, where it's coming from, really where it's coming from. Are you doing this from a good place or maybe a negative place? I don't know. I think that could change the conversation. But I don't think there's anything wrong with sacrificing pieces of yourself in order to become an evolved version of yourself, a version that you dream of that you just haven't met yet. I meet people all of the time who find me on social media and they're asking me to coach them with kettlebells because they want to build muscle. They want to lose fat. They want to feel strong, and they haven't been able to do it successfully just yet. So they come to my page, and when I think of people like that, and I think of the line of, I am the martyr, I am the muse, their body, their strength, the confidence they want, that's the muse. Is there anything wrong with them changing how they're eating so that they can hit the right macros to achieve that? No. Is it going to suck at times to change how you've been eating in order to learn how to eat in a new way to support and nurture that muse? There's nothing wrong with that. It's going to be tough. It's going to feel like a sacrifice. It's going to feel like a part of you is dying. You're like killing this version of yourself. I mean, listen, back in the beginning of 2021, before I was working with Hillary, I was guzzling olive oil, guzzling. And I remember when I stopped doing that and I started eating differently and my body was changing, I felt like there was a part of me dying. I was so conditioned to doing things in a particular way, but that way wasn't serving me in the way that I wanted to evolve into. I wanted something different. And in order to make something different appear as part of my reality, I had to make sacrifice. I had to die in a sense. And I think it's really cool to think that it is possible to become whatever it is you dream of if you're willing to make some sacrifices for it. And I don't think that requires you doing anything in an unhealthy way. It could, but I don't think it has to, especially if we are keeping the conversation around fitness and aesthetics and performance. You can do all of this stuff in a really healthy way. There's just so many people who have tried to find tricks and take shortcuts, and that's when you get into murky territory. But as we get ready to wrap up this episode, here's what I want to leave you with. First is the question: would you be willing to let the old you die to become the person that you dream of if you knew it was a sure bet? Remember, death is uncomfortable. Death is uncomfortable. It's not going to be easy to make changes. But would you be willing to die in order to be born into something that you dream of being? Now, for those of you who are thinking to yourself, no, I'm actually really comfy, I want to stay right where I am. Okay. For those of you who would be willing to die, what are you waiting for? What steps could you take right now to begin to change? Maybe it's connecting with the trainer or the registered dietitian or getting into therapy. Or you know what? Maybe you're already doing all of those things, but you haven't really seen change. So maybe it's switching that up because for whatever reason, it's just not working for you at this point in time, and that's okay. But what can you do to start changing? And then for anybody who decided to still listen to this episode, you haven't listened to the masterclass and you're kind of just like, what's going on right now? Go listen to that masterclass. I want to help you find your fierce. In this masterclass, I'm going to get you to see that version of you that is unstoppable, powerful, fantastical. And once you find her, and once you realize that these are the things that I want, then the next step is taking small action to make it possible.
Thanks for tuning in. If this episode hit home, don't forget to leave a rating and review. Women are stronger together, so share this with a woman who you want to see rise. When we embrace positive takeaways, we level up, and when we share them, we change the world. Follow us on Instagram at The Dangerous Women Podcast and let us know what you want to hear next. And remember, dangerous women redefine wellness and the world. So be fierce, be authentic, be dangerous.